What if the thing keeping you stuck isn't in your mind, but in your body? In this episode, we explore how brain spotting unlocks your nervous system's wisdom to finally move forward. Greetings, Dawn. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Selena. Thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward to our conversation. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
Dawn, how do you show up in the world?
Yeah. So how I used to show up in the world was I kind of showed up however I felt like I needed to show up in a given moment, right? Instead of really being present in my body. So now how I show up is I notice what my body's telling me. So if I feel like I'm in a place where it feels unsafe, my body's going to tell me, and then I listen to that. I listen to my energy patterns. I listen to my senses, my intuition, and that was missing for a while. And I have regained that awareness.
Wow, I love that. All right. Well, let me just ask because you piqued my interest. You said that listening to yourself was gone for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so busy and had so much going on in my life that I didn't have capacity for much anymore. And the first thing that went was that intuition, was that awareness that I had in my body. So the decisions that I used to make before was based on my body and my intuition and what felt aligned, what felt good. And
Mm.
along the way, those messages, like I took on way too much information within the world around me that I didn't have that awareness anymore. I was so busy.
That sounds so familiar to me. Wow. I
Yeah.
can really relate. I
Yeah.
can really relate. I'm known as a disruptor coach on this show
Yes.
and in real life. And I am curious, what did the disrupt her in you have to disrupt?
Mm. Doing everything, like feeling like I had to do everything. I I felt like I could not step back, like I had to keep going, moving forward. Always doing the next thing, like always having an answer for things. So when I started building my group practice, so I'm a coach, but I'm also a clinical therapist. And so I had a counseling practice that I grew rapidly and in a short amount of time, we grew quickly and we became really big. And it was just go, 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 go. You know, the next best thing, perfectionistic views. And I hit burnout.
Mm.
I had to disrupt that. I had to keep going. I had to keep doing the next best thing. I had to do everything I needed to do. Um, and really, ultimately, it was I had to save my practice because my practice wasn't doing well. Because I stopped listening to my intuition. So I had to take a step back and do nothing. That's really what the disruptor was instead of continuing to do everything and finding the things I needed to do, it was to do nothing, which was a very unfamiliar feeling for me.
Wait. Oh my, this sounds so familiar. What do you believe created that sense of having to do everything?
Well, so talking about brain spotting, right? This is kind of where all this came up. So I trained in brain spotting.
What is brain spotting? What is that?
Sure.
I never heard that word before. I thought it
Yeah.
was a word that you made up.
And I did not. So the who made that up, his name is David Grand. So he's the founder of Brainspotting. Brainspotting is a modality that we use to help with trauma. So information that we have stored in the subcortical part of our brain that we don't always have awareness of. We don't always have verbal ability to kind of describe.
Mhm.
It lives in our body and it's connected to our eyes. So that optical nerve is connected back here. So really the phenomenon is Where we look affects how we feel. So I'll say that again. So where
Yeah.
we look affects how we feel.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
So when you say that, what I hear
Mhm.
in saying where we look affects how we feel, I internalized that because when the shit was hitting the fan and I was in the midst of my trauma and all of the stuff that was going on around me and with narcissism and all of that, I went inward to figure out how did I get here? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on with me that
Mhm.
I'm here? Is
Mhm.
that what you're referring to? Like where you look, or is it different?
Absolutely. No. So like while you were talking about that, you were looking to your right a lot. But when you said the word narcissism, your eyes took you to the left for some reason. And
Yeah.
so I would explore that more with my clients about like, well, what is it about that left side, right? Like, do you notice that when you're looking to the right, you feel a certain way in your body? And does that change when you're looking to the left?
Oh, let's talk about that because what I feel, and I've heard this psychologically when they're interviewing people in, like crime and, people that study people. And I study people. I'm a knower. It tends to be when you're more to the right, like you're kind of gazing, you're kind of looking for the information and you're trying to recall. But
Mhm.
when to the left, it's more certainty.
And
Is
so
that accurate
it,
or that's what I
yeah,
heard.
it
That's what
can sorry, it can be that way, but it could be different for people too. Um, it's so interesting because if someone's trauma, like let's say you were looking, your trauma was in a certain place, right, where you were looking in a certain direction, then that information is stored back there based on that location, that proximity. Um,
Oh, so it's not like a left brain, right brain thing. It's more related to what was happening when the trauma was happening.
correct, yes, or anything in general. Like what I love so much about brain spotting is it
Oh,
gets to that core, right? It gets the trauma, anything that someone considers trauma, right? So things that have been so influential that it's basically changed the way or shaped the way that we think and feel in situations, right? It kind of hijacks our
mm.
nervous system, right? And maybe we don't even know why. Brain spotting can help to heal that area, process that, heal that, so it doesn't keep hijacking us, so it doesn't keep showing up when we don't want it to. We listen to our body, acknowledge it. Like we're in a world where we go so quickly that we don't notice things. We're not in the moment. We
Oh, yeah.
don't pay attention to how we feel emotionally or somatically.
Or we're
And
stuffing it down.
exactly. And our body just wants to be acknowledged, right? Like our body and our brains just want to be acknowledged. And brain spotting gives us the space to do that. And then when we do heal, there's an expansion that can happen. Like once we listen to our body and we realize what these messages are in our brain, it becomes clearer that our brain will process this for us and help us heal so that we can become bigger and go in the direction of wherever that is, like what our highest self is. And we
Oh,
can find a
oh,
spot for that.
girl, you are speaking my language. So it feels like to me, you're putting the clinical and the modality to it. So I've experienced all of this and it's led me to this work, right? Um, didn't have the capacity, lost myself, didn't know who I was anymore, totally disconnected, and no energy, no strength, my confidence is low, like all of these things. And in this process and wanting to help others, um, by the way, her name is Miss I Got Time for Everything Except Myself.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And you're kind of familiar with her. One of the programs that came out of that for me to help her create time for herself is the abundance and expansion. So you're using the words. I love it because it just like resonates, girl. We got to do some good work together.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Agreed.
I cannot wait. And so what you're saying, the brain spotting to me, part of that, what's happening in the brain and that we're not honoring it to me in my circumstance because mental health came into play, PTSD, trauma stressors, right, for the mental health. And I was like, what? What? And also anxiety, depression, all the things, and menopause.
Bingo.
Menopause
Bingo.
just up. Menopause, literally. I've been fighting for my life around this for 4.5 years, and menopause came up. And I was like, I thought I already did that.
Yep.
This is what I went through that in my early 50s. What are you talking about, menopause? Nobody ever connected the dots that some of this could be hormonal.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just found this out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. This, and that's ironic because this is one of my specialty areas. So this is one of the areas I work on in counseling
I
is working with perimenopause, like the shift in hormones. So I have a background in reproductive mental health. And
talk
so I,
about it, girl. Tell us all about it.
oh
What's
my gosh. So hormonal issues, right? Like it changes things. And so even starting with pregnancy, postpartum, right? Like there can be a huge shift that happens during that time. And so I became very intrigued in that and learned all about that. And as I've aged myself and hit the perimenopause period, realizing that, wow, some of these things I'm noticing are really significant, really debilitating even, right?
debilitating? I couldn't even write my name on a list. I couldn't even write a list for like
No.
months, maybe a year. Like I could not get my thoughts together. Everything was, it was crazy.
And people being minimized and dismissed, right? That this is happening and right, that there is help, there is assistance for this. And so really just digging into this a little bit more and working on perimenopause and menopause and in my own journey, part of my story
Yeah,
was last year I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. ADHD, I had a diagnosis of, maybe 5 years ago, but it was official last year. And what
really.
I realized was as I started seeing more and more things, it became clear. But I also noticed that the symptoms or the characteristics of what autism and ADHD look like in women became exacerbated by perimenopause.
Mm.
It's all connected.
This is so crazy, girl, because I was like, maybe I need to get an ADHD test. Like maybe something is going on. And the testing is like a year out. Just get
Mm-hmm.
scheduled because so many people are asking themselves that question.
Yes.
Like they need, because I was talking to the person, and I was like, why does it take so long to get scheduled? And they're like, because so many people want to have this answer.
Yes. Yes. And some people have it, right? Some people look back at their life and they're like, oh, that answers so many questions, right? And some people, really dive in and they look at their hormone levels, right? Because your hormone levels and hormone replacement therapy is so vital because it can actually correct some of that stuff you're noticing, right? Like the lack of.
Girl, I'm a whole new woman today, honey.
Yes,
I've been
yes,
writing lists. I've been
exactly.
checking stuff out. I am riding this wave while I got it.
Yes, yes. And so then they're at that piece where they're like, okay, so it's not, and maybe it's not ADHD, right? Because their hormone levels kind of help out, right? But it can either unmask some stuff that has already been there along the way, right? That then just becomes bigger, where we're like, your body and your brain are like, oh, you're going to listen now. You maybe didn't listen before, but you're going to listen now. And so we need to do something with that, whatever that is, hormone replacement therapy, getting that testing for ADHD, just looking at the whole picture and really diving in. And I'm huge with holistic measures. So,
I am
the more
totally.
people we can pull in to help support us, spirituality, right? Energy work, all of that, the better.
Those are my absolute favorites. That's what I'm leaning into more. They wanted to prescribe all this medication and everything, like for PTSD. I was reading the side effects of the one, and one also the physical problems that come with it too. I have a lot of physical ailments, and I was like, this just cannot be my life. But one of them was like, it gives you suicidal thoughts. I've had a medication to do that before. I'm like, no. So I am plant-based. I lean fully into herbs. I have my own all organic herbal barbecue sauce. It's all herbs and spices. Um, for that reason, because I know a lot of this is tied to this processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe these medications don't have enough of the plant to be effective. It allows you to maintain, but it doesn't heal you. I call myself healed. I'm going to be healed. I want to lean into all the God-given things that were created for me to heal and my wellness. Let me get off my soapbox because, honey, we could talk about this all day. So, what are you saying to the woman out there today, like me, that doesn't know like what's going on? She's feeling some kind of way. It's making her not trust herself, right?
Yes.
Because it feels like everything's like betraying her,
Yeah.
even her own body and all of that, and can't get a grip. And everybody thinks like, girl, get a grip, like all of the things, right?
Yes.
What does she need? What do you have for her?
Yeah. First, she's not crazy, right? There's nothing wrong with her. Like, and I think that is the biggest thing, right? Is like there's not something that makes her defective in any way, right? Even though it may feel like that, or society may contribute to her feeling like that, she's stuck for the moment and we need to find a new way of being, right? We need to readjust. As we age, we gain all this information, right? And at some point, we just don't have the same capacity or things don't look the same as they used to. And we just need to be kind to ourselves and listen to what that new state of being needs to look like. And brain spotting can help. We can figure out what your body needs, what your body's telling you, giving it space. And once your body feels like it's given that space to really heal, like we hear these messages that we maybe weren't able to hear before, like these thoughts, these core beliefs that we've had, and then we know what we need to do with that, and we know how to move forward.
Let's talk about because brain spotting is like whole another level new to me on all of that. So how would I do that? Because right, I'm looking to the left and I'm looking to the right. So what do I need? I need my therapist
Mhm.
kind of have these conversations is what I'm feeling and sensing that needs to happen. I feel like my lady, she does this in a way. Um, because when you first said it, I was like, oh, that's what she's doing. Hmm. But that term has never come up. So
Well, there,
what's it like
yeah,
in practice? What
sure.
tell us what's the process and what she needs to do to kind of get started and how she ends up with you.
Sure. So there are different trauma modalities out there. So I'm wondering too, like maybe EMDR is a term that you've heard before. That is a term that's out
It didn't
there.
work for me at all.
What's that?
It didn't work for me at all.
Yeah. So I'm trained in EMDR as well. I'm trained in multiple trauma modalities.
Got a feeling. Ma'am, Miss, I got time except for
Exactly. Because I'm all about like doing more, right? And now I'm trying to step back, or have more intention around what it is that I do.
absolutely.
Um, brain spotting has been able to pull in the other modalities I've learned. Um, in EMDR definitely has its place. I found that brain spotting gets in a little bit deeper and goes a little bit it goes in a little differently. It's more flexible around where you are at any given time. So the way we look at it is like the client is the comment and we're kind of following the tail of the comment. So like wherever the client is, like I'm going to follow. There's no rigid protocol. Um, like there's a protocol in EMDR and I'm not bashing EMDR at all. I feel more congruent to brain spotting. And therefore some other people also feel more congruent. So those folks that would feel more congruent to brain spotting who like to have kind of more of that uncertainty. Let's show up what's in the moment. Let's just give space to see what's there. Like this would be the model that would be more suitable to that. So we are trained. I'm certified in brain spotting. There's a training that goes along with this. So someone who would want to engage in brain spotting would find a brain spotting trained therapist or clinician. And then they would be able to start doing sessions with them. So I offer brain spotting through clinician, like my clinician practice, but I also do it as coaching. And because of my own experience, I've created I've created a program that is for the embodied visionary who kind of needs a reset, who feels like they maybe have gone off track. They don't feel like they're aligned with their values, or they feel like they've broken their compass, which is kind of how I felt. That's how I described it. Like my compass broke and I'm like, I don't know which way to go. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I have this 3 session model that's kind of this reset. It gets someone exposed to brain spotting, they get a taste of it. And for some, that's all they need. For others, we could go deeper.
Yeah.
Um, mhm. So it's the first session focuses on the body. So we do a lot of grounding and really regulating that nervous system to help them feel like they're in a safer position to experience what they're feeling.
Mm.
And that second session is focused more on listening to the cognitions that are coming up. Like once we've really focused on that body, we have a space to kind of hear what else is coming up for us in our minds and work through some of those things that keep us stuck, some of those core beliefs or messages we've received from the world.
Yeah, that
And
part.
then that session 3 is focused on business. So people who are like, us who are like, I want to do this with my business, or I want to go in this direction, right? Or I felt like I wanted to go here, but now it doesn't make sense. Like, but I don't know where to go, or I don't know how to start, right? Like that third session, now we have this space for capacity, right? Now we get to do the expansion work and really figure out like where do you want to go? Like what lights you up? Let's find what that is.
Mm, I love that. And so, what happens beyond those three frameworks? Is that the initial part of the program and where you're going to kind of get you started? Does it lead into more? Like, tell us more.
Yes. So for some, that's all they need. They feel like they have their direction. Like it gives them enough to start that momentum, right? Like they feel like I'm here. I'm where I want to be. I have the momentum. I can jump off of here and keep going. I know what feels more aligned. I hear my intuition again. For others, there's more that comes up, right? For some of us, we have a lot of history, right? That has contributed to us staying stuck or hitting walls here and there. And so there might be other messages that come up for us. So that could be ongoing coaching, right? Where we're really kind of going into different things on a more regular basis. Or some people feel like, okay, I did a lot of work. Like I healed and that feels good. I'm aligned. And then, 6 months down the road, they're like, something was triggered by that situation. I'm not sure what that was. Like, can we dive into that?
Right. If the
Absolutely.
thing keeping you stuck
Yeah.
isn't in your mind.
Yeah. Mhm. Right. Yep. And so there's like kind of a maintenance that goes with it, right? Where we're able to hear our body before it gets to this place of burnout. We hear the cues, we know what's going on, and we're like, oh, I think I need to go and look at this right now. Like, I need to process this now.
Yeah.
It's coming up. Let's do what we need to do. People do their session. They feel better. They feel more refreshed again, right? They have more capacity and then they keep going.
I love that. I love everything about this. Oh my gosh. So tell me, what is what is one of the um in the work that you do, what is one of the things that you're most proud of? Was it a client transformation? Like what what unfolded for you that lights you up about this work and that you're most proud of?
Yeah. So I think it was me doing this work myself, like having my own journey. I mean, I was in a place where like I was ready to like give up so many times. And even just redefining the word give up, right? Like I had to close a business because, I made horrible decisions in my business and, I didn't want to, I didn't want to say like, that's it. Like I can't do anything else, right? I didn't want to get to that point. So, finally getting to that point and starting the healing process of like, okay, like my body's telling me you're done. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. Like you can't do anymore. You have to step back. And then I listened, right? But I didn't do the brain spotting yet. I heard it. I stepped back and I just was so burnt out. I just collapsed basically. Like I was shutting down. I couldn't do things. I couldn't make decisions. I couldn't see things clearly, right? Like that fight, flight, freeze came up all the time. Um,
I
and
might
so,
be being triggered.
right, all the time being triggered. And so I didn't know where to go. And
Mm-hmm.
having found brain spotting, like I had, like I said, I had been trained in it, you know, before, and I used it here and there, but I really didn't look at it as like, oh, this is what I should be doing. Um, and something clicked one day, you know, where I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do the next training, right? Do the next thing. But
Yeah.
in that case, something pulled me in that direction, and it came from me doing yoga and Reiki work that I felt something came up that felt compelling in like doing more of that training. So I went into the next training, which we had to do a lot of our own work. And I was like,
Mm.
wait a minute, this feels different. Something feels different, right? Like I'm recognizing this. I'm recognizing that I don't need to add more, I need to have less,
Right.
right? And that's kind of where that journey started. And so I was proud of myself for sticking it out and figuring out what needed to happen and being patient with myself, and then being able to offer this to other people who feel stuck, who feel like I don't know which direction to go, you know, I feel like just completely giving up. And like there's answers, right? Like we can figure that out together. I can hold space for you to figure that out. Like we can pivot. We don't have to do what we're supposed to do based on society. That can look very different. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway is like, especially being diagnosed, right, with autism and ADHD is things don't look the same for me, right? That they may look for someone else. And I didn't recognize that. And so now I'm giving space to that my energy looks different. Like what I need looks different.
Yeah.
I have to be aware of that. And other people have that opportunity to do the same thing. It doesn't have to look a certain way.
I love that. And so I want to be a little devil's advocate
Yeah.
here. Um, because when I hear those terms, I
Mhm.
feel like in some people, they believe that that's who they are,
Mhm.
right? It's a diagnosis. It isn't who you are.
Mhm.
Um, and um, and that becomes all of the conversation,
Mhm.
right? And I feel disheartened, like when I hear those terms, because I feel it keeps people in it puts up a wall,
Mhm.
like they feel like like it makes them appear like there's a limitation.
Mhm.
Necessarily believe that that is true.
Mhm.
Um, because when I got that PTSD diagnosis, like it held me captive for a year and a half.
Mhm. Mhm.
I decided, no, that's not who I am. I'm not going to have a life of medications and things like this. It's just not happening. And and so I sought it out, but I know I'm a different bird than most. What are the things that people can do for themselves in these situations? What have you found that has really worked for you? We know the brain spotting, you're qualified in it. Is that something people can do for themselves that they learn and they take it away as a practice? Do they have to have a clinician or practitioner for that? Like what does that look like for the person that needs you and or the person that they're not there yet, but what can they do to help themselves, right? Because sometimes when a person hears another person's journey and what tools that they use,
Mhm.
they can find space for themselves, right?
Mhm.
To do it themselves and not necessarily. And I'm just curious, because then that would tell us like the things that were significantly impactful for you that
Mhm.
you utilize, right?
Yeah.
Does that make-
So I think there's two parts to that. So first, in terms of like the limitations or the diagnosis, like the autism and ADHD, is that what you were referring to? Like the limiting beliefs.
Yeah, that
So
people leave that. Yeah, excuse me.
yeah. So I like to look at it a little differently than a mental health diagnosis in terms of like PTSD or anxiety,
Mm,
because your brain is wired differently. So someone with ADHD or autism, look at things a little differently. So I look at it as if someone's left-handed, they're going to have different experiences in the world, right? Like the
absolutely.
world is set up for right-handed people. That's just how it is, right? Like back to the day of scissors when you were in elementary school, there were all right-handed scissors and you had two pairs of left-handed scissors. And so I look at it like that, where someone who's neurodivergent, like autism and ADHD, especially, is the world is built for neurotypical people. And as a neurodivergent person, like we have to filter like how we're seeing things. So if the
Yes.
world is built up to work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, right? Like that's not going to work for everybody. And it probably is not going to work for a lot of neurodivergent folks because we may have different energy times during the day, or we may need more breaks, or working in an office is overstimulating, right? Having overhead lights on, having a lot of people around us, temperature may affect us differently, right? And so I look at it from that lens as opposed to like the limiting. It's how do I show up in the world and what are my needs? Because the
Mm.
world is always built for me, and I'm going to acknowledge that. And so if I have to take a break, I'm going to take a break, which may not have happened before, right? Like I've worked with so many clients who are like, well, I can't do that. Like I'm not allowed to. Okay, so what do you need versus what society is telling you you're supposed to do? Maybe that's not the right fit for you. And that's okay. And that's that part of the acceptance that we do. And that's
Yeah.
where Brainspotting comes in because it helps us identify those are the limiting beliefs, right? Is that
That's
like,
so good, girl. Yeah. Like I'm just recognizing that I had a limited belief. I didn't fully understand neurodivergent. Um, and that whole neurotypical and how society. So this is breaking, being disruptive about maintaining the status quo. Because, oh, girl, this is good, 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 good. Okay, I'm
and
with
I
you.
don't think a lot of people know like that's how it shows up, right? And like a
Yes.
lot of the women who are coming in who I see are, you know, sometimes they're just being diagnosed, neurodivergent with whatever that diagnosis brings, right? But it's not necessarily the diagnosis or the label, it's the like understanding that like I felt different all these years, and this is why. It's not because something's wrong with me, it's because I didn't understand how my brain and body worked, and now I do. And
It
I'm
was
okay with that.
the world keeps saying I need to do it this way, and I feel I need to do it this way. So it's making me dishonor myself because I want to be seen, heard, and belong.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I keep trying to do it this way.
Bingo.
It feels like with your strengths and weaknesses. Everybody focuses on your weakness when we absolutely need to be operating in our strengths.
Of course, absolutely. And so
Okay.
identifying that, like what's showing up in my body, right? Like sensory wise, especially, there's a lot of
Yeah.
sensory components to things. So recognizing that, knowing like which way do we need to move, right? Like which direction feels like we're honoring our capacity.
I love this. So I hear this as saying your light is supposed to shine bright, and it isn't supposed to shine like Jane's light.
Yeah.
Shine your light, girl, and it is okay. I, girl, I'm blown away. I just had a like a major moment here.
Yes. And to answer the second part of that question is yes, self spotting, self brain spotting is a thing. So once we uncover all of this, there are spots that can activate us because it's activating the trauma that we have back here, kind of held back here. And so that needs to be done with a clinician, someone who's trained, someone who knows what to do with that information. But during that process, you are also able to find spots where you look in certain places and it's regulating. So people have described it as like, I feel euphoric when I'm, staring at that spot. I feel so calm that I can't even think about thoughts right now. Like I can't even make the thoughts come in my mind because it's so quiet. And that's such a foreign feeling for people. And it's scary at first.
I love this. It makes me think about yoga too
Yes.
when they always talk about your gaze, like
Yeah.
where you focus your gaze. I can imagine. Is
Yep.
is that similar to the brain?
Uh-huh. Sure
Oh,
is. Yes. You find that spot. That gaze spot is the like I just took a deep breath. I didn't know I was holding my breath, but that spot just told me
yes,
you need a deep breath.
yes.
And you can find that spot and then you can use that wherever you need it.
This is so doggone good, Dawn. This is so doggone good. What podcasts, books, what significantly changed your life that you would recommend for others?
Yeah. So David Grand is, like I said, he's the person who created this model, right? So any books by David Grand, there's the brainspotting.com website that has resources. There's also tons and tons of YouTube videos. So when you watch a YouTube video and see how it works,
Yeah.
then that will really pique people's interest. Cherie Lindbergh is a person who is brain spotting. She's certified in brain spotting, and I've done a lot of training with her. Cherie has a podcast, and she also has some YouTube videos. So anything by her is really helpful. Um, so yeah, like that's really the basis. That's the start.
Awesome. Where do they find your stuff? Where do they find you? How do
Yes.
they connect with you?
Yes. So my coaching site is Cultivating Bricolage. So that is cultivatingbricolage.com. And so they can find me there. I have
Tell that
YouTube.
to people,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, okay. What is that?
Bricolage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Bricolage. So, and there's a backstory to it that I didn't share with you in the beginning. So, um, bricolage is kind of a DIY term. It's French. It's like the trash to treasure. So basically, you can take things that are around you, right? Where you feel like, I don't have a use for it, right? And you can put it together and create this masterpiece, right? So I created the practice that I had. My first group practice I had was bricolage wellness, and so it was the idea of bringing things together, right? Like bringing staff together, bringing clients together, bringing community together, and really like making something meaningful out of it. And so when I created my coaching business, I created it as Cultivating Bricolage because we're creating this space, right? We're creating this for people, the connection piece,
Yeah,
right? And bringing everything together is like what lights me up. I along my journey, like I've kind of figured out how to describe myself, right? And so, I'm a clinician, I'm a coach. I love doing all of those things. And also I call myself a connection catalyst. So
ooh,
you mentioned how you like connecting people. I love connecting people. So I'm a connection catalyst, and cultivating bricolage is kind of that idea of doing that, is bringing things and people together to create meaning.
I love that. Let me circle back because I feel like I got so caught up in the conversation that I probably didn't get your answer. I asked you what was the biggest transformation or in one of your clients or the thing that like really lit you up in your work. Was there, was there like that favorite client or the way that you helped somebody out or whatever? Did we answer that?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the answer. Because
Um,
menopause is real, girl.
yeah, I do. So I think I started with, I was really proud of the work that I did and
Yes,
having
it
that
was.
transformation and really being able to offer that space for other people. Um, so yeah, it's hard to even pinpoint one person. Like,
Got you. Well, you're the person, right? We
yeah,
are our first clients.
yeah.
It
It,
tends to be why we do the work. I love
yeah.
this.
So just, those folks that I've helped where they feel like they're seen, right? It's okay. It's okay to say no to things. It's okay to let go. The overachiever who's like, what do I need to do? And I'm like, maybe there's not an answer. And they're like, oh my God, I don't like that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't like that. I don't like the answer. And okay, well, let's create space for that. Like, where does that take you that you don't like that answer, that there may not be an answer, right? And just the healing that comes from that in general is huge.
I love this. There's so many more questions rolling around in my mind. Um, I have a question here.
Hmm?
What does it mean to be fully embodied as a woman, a healer, and a disruptor? Like, it's around like how the world like keeps us constantly pulling on us, especially as women. So what is that? What do you feel like that looks like?
Yeah. The word authenticity came to mind. So really being your authentic self, whatever that looks like. And it's different for every person. And society doesn't dictate what that is. Like we have to figure out internally what that means. Um, and I think most importantly, like discovering your authentic self. Sometimes you're going to piss people off, right? Sometimes you showing up authentically is going to make other people feel uncomfortable. And that's okay because you're not put here on this earth to make everybody else feel comfortable. That's not what our mission is, right? Like we need to show up with our gifts and our strengths and who we are, and we need to move forward and create change where it needs to be and trust ourselves over pleasing others.
Absolutely. Your gifts are the gift to the world.
Mm-hmm.
We get to operate in them. It's just a beautiful journey. And sometimes other people are mad because that you're doing it and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not authentic. They're not showing up. I love that. What kind of offer? How do people how can they work with you? What do you got going on? What are you offering to the world? What do your services look like?
Yeah. So I have various packages for coaching. So individual sessions and then packages. If someone wants to experience this brain spotting, like where I described those 3 sessions, they can do the embodied visionary reset program that I'm offering. So, like I said, that's 3 sessions. So they can do that and they're able to find me. So it's a landing page. It's cultivatingbricolage.com/the dash embodied dash visionary dash starter dash program.
Have it in the description you also you can just talk about what it is so that they know when they're looking for it.
Absolutely. So purchasing that program is purchasing 3 sessions. So each session is 1 hour. We meet for a discovery call for about 30 minutes. We talk about what someone's looking for and how they want to change personal and business in kind of create that space to work through the burnout or whatever's keeping them stuck in their body, those messages, and then they want to make a decision to kind of pivot in a different direction, or maybe it's to keep going right in the same direction, but maybe it's an expansion that looks different. So we would be able to do that in that session. So they can purchase that 3 pack package through the website, and it is an introductory rate that's on sale right now until June 11th, and then the price goes up. So if they want to take advantage of that price, then it would.
11th, that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
All right, y'all better get in where you fit in on that for those listening. And what happens next? What else? Any projects you're working on? What are you doing for fun?
Yeah. So another project I'm working on. So, I mentioned I had to close my group practice that I had opened before, and burnt out and had to kind of figure out what to do and where to go, and have created other businesses. And so part of what I'm doing is I am almost finished with a program, a course where it teaches someone how to close their business. So,
Oh,
as a group practice owner, as a therapist who has a practice with other therapists, if they've decided that this isn't what they kind of had in mind,
mhm.
um, things don't look the way they want to pivot, then they have this course that I put together for them that helps them know what next steps could look like, because I had to do it. And I didn't necessarily have that for me. And so I went back once I did have space and kind
Yeah,
of gather this curriculum. So I have that, that's going to be coming up, and I'm going to throw that together tomorrow with as the last day. I'm going to put that together as a special package offer with the other 3 sessions in case someone does decide that's the way they want to go, and I can package it all together.
I love that. Do you have a name for it if they just need that piece?
Yeah, so it's the graceful exit.
The graceful exit. That's fantastic. I
Yes.
love it. Is there anything else you want to share that we did not talk about or a question I didn't ask?
Mm, I think the last thing that I want to share, which I shared with you before, is I've shared this on my social media posts too, is the thing I'm most grateful for is doing all of the work I've done over the last year or two with really being embodied and in the moment. Like, my mom went on hospice this year. So she became ill in January, and she was on hospice in April and passed away May 9th. Um, and because I had done all the work that I did, I was able to show up and be there with her and drop things that I needed to drop for work that I would never have been able to do before. I wasn't in a space to drop work. I didn't have the capacity to deal with the emotions that I was experiencing in the moment and be there to hold my mom's emotions. And so what made me bring that up today is my mom's heavenly birthday. So um I just think of her and I'm channeling her right now, that I'm so grateful I did that work so I could show up for her. And I said all of the things that I needed to say to her before she passed away.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful, just grateful for my journey, being able to be here now.
I'm grateful to hold this space and that you didn't pick another date because I asked you to reschedule your date. We accidentally had our CEO day open, and I was like, I need that day. And we prayed. I prayed with all of my guests before we create a space for conversation, and it just felt light for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm grateful that you said yes, that you had the capacity and you trusted me enough to hold space for you and your mom in this conversation. Absolutely grateful.
Thank you, Selena. I really appreciate all of that.
Absolutely. Do you want to call her name? You want to say her name and speak it into the circle?
Sure. Rita Leprich.
Miss Rita, we thank you for Dawn. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dawn, before we go, I have one last question that I typically ask all my guests. And so I ask this question for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Hmm. I guess what resonates with you, like as I talked about brain spotting and all of that kind of stuff, like what resonates with you right now with all of that?
A lot. I feel that what's resonating is that I've innately been on the right path that I wanted to go on that would help me in my journey because I feel like I'm probably your ideal client. And
Yes.
um, Reiki, the energy work, I found that early on after I got divorced, and it's a different kind of healing because things felt very heavy for me. Like I was walking around with all of this weight and I was releasing things. Like when I got divorced, I got rid of everything, like all the photos, like everything. I was like, all this has got to go. And there was still this heavy and weightedness that only Reiki could clear up. And two things happened in that space. It was so funny. I was having dinner with my tribe friends. They had walked with me through a lot of this, and they lived around the corner. When I needed anything, they would show up, husband and wife. And they're different backgrounds culturally. And he's a black guy. So to hear him talking about Reiki that she had exposed him to, and I was like, what? I need to go check this out. I had tried it before and I'd had like a totally different experience. It was kind of woo-woo. Uh, and I was like, I need to go check this out. If Jay is good with this and he cool, I'm going to find out. And so when I went, the first person that I had, European woman, and it was good. It was good. It felt like it lifted some things, like really lifted some things. So I went to her a couple of times. Then the third time I got a Hawaiian person of Hawaiian descent. And it was like it wasn't there. Like the energy wasn't there for me. It was like I was just going through the motions, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't my person, right? Like
Exactly.
it had nothing to do with her. Like
Right.
nothing.
Right.
No one take me wrong on that. Um, and then my spirit was like, because I know I needed more because it was lifting, but it wasn't there. My spirit was like, you need the ancestors. You need African descent, which this is just my journey, y'all. So nobody take any of this personal. And that was like a whole nother level for me. And it when I got that download, all of the things in the universe started transpiring to conspiring to make it happen because I met this girl that invited me to a moon ceremony. I went to the moon ceremony. I met who would become my Reiki healer. Um, and it was a whole vibe and totally different experience for
Mm-hmm.
me that like cracked everything open. Like we sat and chatted for a while. You would probably even say it was a discovery call, right? But it was insane because I'm like, I need this like right away. I knew it because I felt like I was in the sunken place. And as I'm sharing with her, she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, your ancestors want you to know you're protected. That had me walking with a whole different move and a whole different vibe just from that. And we hadn't even done the Reiki session yet. That was just a conversation. Then when we did the Reiki session, I did the vaginal steam with it. I did She had me lay on mud cloths. Anybody knows about mud cloths? They're made by it's an African thing, I believe. Um, and it was just a whole vibe. And I fell asleep
Yep.
the session. I never, because I'm an extremely light sleeper, everything. And I just felt so much lighter when I came. First of all, I was just unbelievable that I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Then, um, as we were, as she was asked, talking to me about it, and she told me that the ancestors wanted you to know you're protected again, right? She repeated it. And then she said, picture that their hands are on your shoulder and it stretches a mile long.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see all these hands covering me, right? And my whole body got warm. It felt like a total transformational experience. And I would continue to go to her whenever I started feeling like out of alignment and that weightiness. So right now I'm leaning more into yoga, a trauma-based therapy yoga, and it's like unbelievable. And I tried all of the traditional things that they say per se, and I found that they just don't work. I was doing the physical therapy because I got pelvic floor dysfunction and all of those things. And so you saying all of these things resonate with me, even the neurodivergent, because it's it's different for me, right? I know I move differently. I know I think differently. I know that I've got spiritual work to do. When I was in the space of what I was going through, spiritual warfare was at play. And
Mhm.
you need spiritual tools and practices to help you. And most people feel like some of these things are demonic. No, the stuff that's holding you captive is what's demonic, and you need spiritual warfare to get it out of your face.
Yes, 100%.
So this is edifying for me. This whole conversation, we never even met before we had this conversation. We're in community together. I know we're going to do great work together. Um, so those are the things that are resonating for me. I think you're right in the pocket in what you need to be doing, and it's a reason why that business needed to close for you to have the energy, strength, capacity to expand, to hold the things that were there for you to have so
Mhm.
that you could bring this mission and vision to light.
Mhm.
And it couldn't have happened because that was in the way.
Right, exactly. Yes, yes, I
Yep,
had to clear, make space.
that's what's resonating. That's what's resonating.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I feel like both of us have been a little bit changed for the better based on
Yes,
this conversation and
agreed.
the pre-conversation as well. This is
Yes,
good stuff. This is good stuff. You're doing great work, Dawn.
thank you. So are
Y'all,
you.
y'all keep the Dawn out here. She's changing lives. She's changing lives, y'all. I'm happy about that. Anything else to say to the wonderful people before we go?
Thank you for listening. And, I hope people find that space like you and I have explained and described. I hope other people are able to get to a place where they find that healing too.
Ashe, ashe,
Yeah.
ashe. Well, that's our time. Y'all know. Until next time, take good care of you.